Hello everyone, welcome to online lecture series on nanotechnology and surface engineering. Today we are going to study a new topic which is surface composites, or here as it is mentioned as composite materials. This is part of your chapter, that is surface modifications, and we are going to take support from the content given by the IIT Kanpur Aerospace Engineering on this topic. Mostly we are going to focus on the introduction or fundamental part for surface composites that will be sufficient for your course. So let's begin. First we will start with fibrous composites. So what is composites? So first we will see the definition of composites. Composite is a material which is composed of two or more materials at microscopic scale. So here we are having combination of two or more materials at microscopic level and have chemically distinct or different phases. So they are heterogeneous at microscopic scale, but they are statically homogeneous at the macroscopic scale. So based on the exterior part, they looks homogeneous, but at the microscopic level, they are chemically different phases. Now, these constituent materials, that is contributing materials, have significantly different properties. So now this is all about composites. So it is in a very simple language we can say that when we are mixing two or more materials together which are at macroscopic scale and have different chemical phases, so by naked eyes they will look homogeneous, however at microscopic scale they are heterogeneous. Now let's see the classification of certain materials as a composite. So there are some conditions which needs to be satisfied to classify them as a composite. So there are three different conditions here. First condition is the combination of materials should result in significant property changes. So that is one of the important goals of forming a composite, that once we create such composites, their properties, there should be a significant improvement in the properties or significant change in the properties, which is requirement of certain applications. Second condition is the content of constituent is generally more than 10%. So the contribution of this constituent should be more than 10% in overall terms. And the third condition is the property of one constituent is much greater than the other constituents, and that is given by greater than 5. Okay, so these are the criteria which are required to classify such material as a composite. Now we will go into history of composite materials. So composites are not something which is very new thing to the human culture. It has been used since a very long period. So if we go into the past, then these are few applications which are shown here. If you see at 4000 BC, it was used as a laminated writing material from papyrus plant. So composite materials were used for making writing materials. In 1300 BC, Egyptians and Mesopotamians used the straw bricks, and these straw bricks were composite material. Then in 1200 AD, Mongols invented the first composite bow, as you can see this in this figure also. Then composite bow that we have shown over here, in which the materials which are used were wood, horn, tendon, leather, bamboo and deer horn. So these were the materials which are used to make a composite bow. And here horn and antler are naturally flexible and resilient. Then if we see sinew, that is tendon, is back tendons or hamstrings of cows or deers. So if you see, mostly we are using the material which were available from the animals or the body parts of animals. Then glue, which is from the bladder of a fish. Then strings, which are horsehair, sinews and silk. So these were the constituents which were used, and we were making a composite bow. So overall processing time at that phase was almost a year. So it took almost a year to prepare a composite bow like this. So here are some indication of how these composite bows were used in 3000 BC, that is Angara datings. Then we will quickly move towards the evolution of materials, and here as you can see there are multiple materials shown here, that is metals, polymers, composites and ceramics. On the x-axis you can see the time frame, that is years, and on the y-axis we are having relative importance. So we will be only focusing on composites here. So as you can see that composites were also famous from 10,000 BC. However, the relative importance kept on decreasing till the 1950s. 1950s was the phase where there was a low demand of composites, and the same was observed for all other materials also. And from 1915 onwards there was increasing demand of composites, as you can see over here. So here it is written straw bricks, paper, CFRP, cavalry, FRP, metal matrix composites and ceramic composites. So currently we are at this ceramic composites in this era. Now few examples of surface composites from day-to-day life. So here it is used in straw bricks, concretes, wood, human body. Human body is combination of muscles and bones, tires, plywoods and sports goods. So here there is details are also given over here, but we are not going to going into this details of composites as a human body. Now we will see the evolution of composite materials. So during World War II, now we are coming into the modern phase, where it was used in military application, non-metallic shielding of radomes. Radomes are actually to the house electric radar equipments, Then glass fiber reinforced plastics, that is GFRP. And the first application of wood material composite laminates was used in Havilland mosquito fighter slash bomber of British Royal Air Force, as it can be seen in this figure also. Then another historical data is that during World War II, attack on Pearl Harbor by Japanese was done here, and here polymer composites were used for this aircrafts. Now let's get into detail that why composites are necessary even today. Because the main reason why we need to use composites is its enhanced desired properties. And what are these desired properties? As they are listed here: strength, stiffness, toughness, corrosion resistance, wear resistance, reduced weight, improved fatigue life, thermal slash electrical insulation and conductivity, acoustic insulation, energy dissipation, attractiveness, cost, and tailorable properties. So we can change the properties using the composites as we desire. And these are few graphs which justifies that why composites have high fatigue life. So on x-axis we have number of cycles, and on y-axis we are having the fatigue life, and these are the different composites which are shown. Then here next graph is of high specific strength and modulus. So you can go into detail if you want. However, this is not necessary as far as the exam is concerned. Then stress strain curve for fibers. Here on x-axis we are having the strain, and on y-axis we are having the stress. And these are the listed composite materials. Now, what are the constituents in a composite material? So there are mainly two constituents in composite material. First is reinforcement, and second is matrix. Reinforcement are discontinuous, stronger and harder, and matrix are continuous. So these are the two fundamental constituents in a surface composites. Now what are the functions of reinforcement? So we are discussing about the first point. Here they contribute desired properties: load carrying and transfer the strength to the matrix. So these are the tasks of reinforcement. Then what are the functions of matrix? So once if we recall, reinforcements provides the desirable properties. They are used for load carrying and transfer the strength to matrix. Now what are the functions of a matrix? Matrix, if you recall, it is a continuous constituent. So it holds the fibers together, protects the fibers from environment. They protects the fibers from abrasion. Abrasion means rubbing with each other. It helps to maintain the distribution of fibers. It also distributes the loads evenly between the fibers, and it enhances some of the properties of resulting material and structural component. And such properties are transverse strength of lamina and impact resistance. And last is it provides the better finish to the final product. So these are the functions of matrix. So this is very important part that you need to remember, that what are the constituents of composite material and what are the functions of a reinforcement. So you can pause this video over here and you can note down all this functions of a matrix. I will pause for a minute. So I hope that you have noted down all these functions of a matrix. Now let's go into the classification of composites. So based on the type of matrix material, there are 4 classifications based on the matrix material. First is polymer, second is metal, third is ceramic, and fourth is carbon and graphite. In polymers, there is further classification, that is thermoset and thermoplastic. So this is based on the type of matrix material. And now the classification of composites based on the form of reinforcement. So first is fiber, second viscous, third flake, and fourth is particulate. Here we will be focusing on fiber and particulate. So fiber is a filament with L by D ratio very high. L stands for length and D stands for diameter. So when this ratio is very high, that means that fibers are having very less diameter and they are very long in dimension. So they are like very thin wires. And this L by D ratio is of order of 1000. A composite with fiber reinforcement is known as fibrous composites. Then particle, that is non-fibrous with no long dimensions, and so that is completely opposite to fibrous composite. A composite with particles as reinforcement is called as particulate composite, that is this number B. Then whiskers, which are nearly perfect single crystal fiber, short, discontinuous and polygonal cross section. Then based on the form of reinforcement. So here again we are now at point number A, that is fibrous composites. So we are now classifying fibrous composites here. So there are two types, continuous fiber and discontinuous fiber. So in continuous fiber we have unidirectional and woven. And in discontinuous fiber we have it is based on the orientation, that is whether it is random orientation and whether it is preferred orientation. So in Wu1 we have further classification, that is bidirectional, that is two dimensional or three dimensional. In bidirectional we have single layer and multi-layer, and in multi-layer we have further classification as laminates and hybrids. So here we will be discussing only about single layer and laminates in this course. Now based on the form of reinforcement, that is B, now we are here at particulate. So random orientation and preferred orientation. Now fibers as reinforcement. So why do you make fiber reinforcement of a thin diameter? So now we are at this point, that why fibers are filament with L by D ratio to be very high. So why this ratio is very high, that the reason we will see that why fibers are of very less diameter and very long. So here this is justified over here, that as the diameter decreases, the inherent flows in the material also decreases and strength increases. So when diameter decreases, the defects in the material also less and strength is higher. And this is also justified in these two graphs. On x-axis we are having fiber diameter in both figures, and here we are having a strength on y-axis, and here we are having Young's modulus on the y-axis. And it can be clearly seen that as the fiber diameter decreases, when the fire diameter increases, the strength decreases as well as the Young's modulus also decreases. Now this is the portion that we are not going to focus much here. For better load transfer from matrix to the fiber composites requires larger surface area of fiber matrix interface, and this larger surface area here is A is equal to n pi dl, where n is the number of fibers, d is fiber diameter, and l is length of fibers. And here we can replace d by d, that is smaller diameter fibers. So we will not go into detail, but here it can be seen that for a given volume fraction, the area of fiber matrix interface is inversely proportional to the diameter of fiber. So here, as the diameter of fiber reduces, there is a great increase in the area of fiber matrix interface. Still, we are not going into detail of this. If you are very much interested, then you can go it by yourself. Then the third portion is the fibers should be flexible or pliant so that they can bend easily without breaking. So this is obviously very necessary part as far as flexibility of any material is concerned. So for example, woven fiber composite needs flexible fibers, and flexibility is defined as inverse of bending stiffness. And bending stiffness or bending rigidity is given by E into I. And we are assuming that fiber as a beam under pure bending. Then flexibility is inversely proportional to the bending stiffness as it is defined over here. So flexibility is inversely proportional to the bending stiffness, where I is pi d raised to 4 divided by 64. So flexibility is inversely proportional to the fourth power of fiber diameter. So when the fiber diameter is low, then there is a great increase in the flexibility of the fiber. So this is also one of the reasons that fibrous composites are of very less diameter. Now types of fibers. Now we are going into the advanced fibers. Fiber possesses high specific stiffness E by rho and specific strength, that is sigma by rho. And a few examples of advanced fibers are glass, carbon, organic fibers and ceramic fibers. Then we have natural fibers. Animal fibers that we discussed around 10,000 to 3000 BC. Animal fibers were used. Once one example was of a bow, which was purely made of the animal fibers. That is silk, wool, spider silk, sinew, camel hair. Then vegetable fibers that still we use in our day-to-day life: cotton, jute, bamboo, sisal, maize, hemp, sugarcane, banana, rami, kapok, coir, abaca, kenaf, flax, raffin palm and many others. Then mineral fibers that are asbestos, basalt, mineral wool and glass wool. So these are mineral fibers, and this is more related to the chemistry portion, so we are not going to discuss. However, we can see here that these blue highlighted materials are used for advanced fibers and yellow highlighted materials are conventional metals. Then we are now going to discuss about glass fiber. If you recall, here it was written that first advanced fiber is glass fiber. So again, if we go back into history, ancient Egyptians made containers from coarse fibers drawn from heat softened glass, and they were produced by extruding molten glass at 1200 degrees Celsius. They were further passed through spinnerets of 1 to 2 mm diameter, then drawing of the filament to produce a fiber of diameter between 1 to 2 micrometer, and individual filament is small in diameter, isotropic in behavior and very flexible. There are variety of forms: E glass, S2 glass, R glass, C glass and D glass, and they have different kind of properties. Like E glass have high strength and high resistivity, S2 glass has high strength, modulus, stability under extreme temperature, corrosive environment. R glass are enhanced material mechanical properties. C glass resists corrosion in acid environment, and D glass have dielectric properties. In general, glass fibers are isotropic in nature. Then we have carbon fibers. Now we will stop here and we will continue from carbon fibers in our next lecture. So in next lecture we will focus on carbon fibers, organic fibers, ceramic fibers, and then we will see the cross sections of shapes of fibers, types of matrix materials, and then forms of fibrous composites. So in today's lecture we begin with the definition part, history of composites, evolution, and then what are the desirable properties which a composite can provide. Then constituents of composite materials. We saw the further classification over here, and then we discussed that why fibers are having very low thin diameter. We justified it through various properties. and then we discussed about types of fibers, and in today's lecture we have only seen the glass fiber. In our next lecture we will begin with the carbon fibers. So that is the end of today's lecture. Thank you for watching this video.